It is so nice to be able to sit outside for once. It might be February, it might be not the warmest, but it isn't too cold, and it is just really pleasant sitting up here at the picnic bench and looking out over our allotment field. And I've come up for a couple of reasons. First of all, just seemed like a nice opportunity to have a look at the site, but also I needed to see what the damage has been, because it has been very stormy these past few days, and at home things have been whipped around and knocked over, and sure enough, just a quick walk around my plots, I found rubbish that had been blown on, and the fabric that I put down on the newer plots, that had started to lift, but there's signs of life as well. So bulbs and some of my alliums are popping up out of the soil already. And I also spotted something that got me very excited, and I shouldn't have been surprised about it because it happens about this time of the year without fail, and it is a sign that not only am I feeling spring on her way, but the local wildlife is too. So you can see the wood chip paths are still looking really nice. I just laid those down again, and you can see what I have to say about wood chip paths and how I've made these over in one of my recent videos. And I want to show you the little surprise first, because I can't wait to show you. So this is my pond. I've had it for a few years now. And look here. Do you guys see that? That is frog spawn. You might think that it's a bit too early for frogs to be spawning, but they seriously lay their eggs in my pond around Valentine's Day every year. And I'm a little bit concerned because last year what happened is that a lot of the frog spawn actually froze. We had a cold snap. I think that was the beginning of March or late February, and not all of the eggs survived. So I've got to have a think to see if there's something that I can do. The Swiss chard are still going strong. And over there in the distance, we have Oriental Spinach, which I've uncovered. It was under the net before. And this stuff is very similar, I would say, to perpetual spinach, but just a bit more tender. We're gonna have a lot of onions and garlic and shallots this year. This entire patch is filled with them, and they're all doing just fine. I love veg that can take care of themselves. There's bulbs coming up all along the front of this little row of lavender. And also here, you can see the hyacinths are coming out, and they're starting to bloom as well. Look. Up here, there's more bulbs coming out at the base of my red love apple tree. And you'll know that this is quite an amazing apple tree. The apples it produces are red on the inside as well as the out. I have a video on how to make red love apple pie, which is such a beautiful, stunning red apple pie. But this tree has given me a little bit of a dilemma. We've had a reevaluation of our allotment rules and constitution, and tall structures are not going to be permitted on our site. And also trees fit into that category as well. So anything over a meter, so 3 feet in height. And so it's either train this apple tree or move it. A lot of the perennial herbs are just kind of hunkering down. This is the lemon balm, and we've got oregano over there, some thyme, some creeping thyme. I love this stuff. Also the Roman chamomile. This is a perennial. This is a type that you would have for chamomile lawns. It doesn't get very tall. And there are calendula flowers still blooming as well. Look at this beauty. A little bit of golden sunshine in the middle of winter. Now, it doesn't look the prettiest, but I've covered up this area with landscaping fabric to suppress the grass and the weeds and the bindweed as well that's under here. I don't know if it's going to work, but I would rather not use any kind of weed killer in my garden. So the plan is to plant through some holes in the fabric here in the summertime. But in the meantime, it's not been down long and it's already started to rip and shred. If you look down here, look at that. So that can get into the soil, and I'm not very happy with that shredding. I've weighed this down a bit more with wood, and I'll keep an eye on it, but not pleased with that. I probably wouldn't recommend that particular type of landscaping fabric. This other stuff that is a lot more fabric-y and it doesn't shred, this stuff I've been using for a long time, and this stuff is really good. It doesn't give you the same problems with this shredding plasticness, and it does its job, keeps weeds down. So underneath this is one of my rhubarb plants, and I'm forcing the rhubarb, which means growing it in darkness so that it kind of searches out trying to find light, and it keeps growing taller and taller, and it'll get all the way up to the top of that bin. And when I take this off, the stems will be bright red and juicy and tender and perfect for desserts and for making into preserves. And it's a real treat. You can't do this every year with your rhubarb plants. So I think it's every 3 years that they recommend. I might be making that up, but definitely not every year. And I've forced the rhubarb over on my other plot. And when I've done that, it was a little bit later because that one actually takes a little bit longer to sprout and produce rhubarb leaves and stems, but this one has already started growing. So I reckon it's time to get the bin on the rhubarb. Although I used to dig over my beds like many other gardeners, I'm a recent convert to no-dig gardening, which is why I'm using mulches to suppress weeds and planting into it, and it's working really well. So I will not be digging this in any way, hopefully. Now, I've just noticed that my allotment neighbor has been up doing some work, and they have the more traditional style of digging over a plot going on right now. So it'll be really interesting to see what the difference is between no-dig gardening on the left and traditional digging on the right. The Thornless Blackberries are looking tidy, and I'm so glad I got them all pruned and tied in before these storms started whipping through, because they're supported by these wires, and so it protects the plants as well as makes sure that you get a good harvest and that the plant stays healthy in the summer months. There's a little patch of Thornless Blackberries just down there at the far end that I still have to stake, and they've been whipped around a little bit more than I would like them to be. What did I say about it not being that cold? It has started to get freezing right now, so it is time that I head home. I hope you enjoyed this walk around the allotment garden with me. There's quite a few little tasks that I need to get done this coming week that I noted while walking around. If you've got any ideas for me on how I can protect the frog spawn from freezing weather, do let me know. All ideas are welcome. Leave them as a comment below. I know some people would say let nature run its course, and I have done that in years past, but I really would like to protect those little tadpoles if possible. And last year they did freeze over, so I'm a little bit concerned. There is a lot to do here. There's a lot to do at the home garden as well. My goodness. It's just been kind of a slow start to the year as far as projects in the back, but I have some ideas and I've got some materials, and that will be underway very soon. Also, if you have not yet sown your tomato seeds, I have 2 videos that I released last week that you might want to check out, and I'm going to be following that story of growing tomatoes from seed throughout the entire year this year. So from seed to little seedling to planting them out in the greenhouse, harvesting, the entire story. So keep an eye out for future videos and go check out those ones as well. If you enjoyed this video though, give it a thumbs up, and I will see you next week for another gardening video here on Lovely Greens. Thanks, and bye for now.